Hello, and welcome to another episode of Accessibility. It's a show on YouTube where I talk about the video game industry, accessibility, and representation. I'm your host, Laura. I'm a white woman with bright blue hair, shaved on one side, wearing a plain black dress and a black denim jacket. Back in October of 2021, Metroid Dread released to critical praise, but that didn't come without some caveats. When I made an episode of Accessibility about the game, I praised a lot about the way that the game's map design worked in terms of dynamically updating to let you know where you can now progress to in this big sprawling non-linear environment. But I was very critical of the fact that the game has needlessly complicated controls, often very unforgiving timings for windows of attacks, and basically has no accessibility settings or difficulty settings at all, or at least it didn't at launch, to make the game even a little bit more accessible to people who liked the idea of it but were going to struggle mechanically to play. Recently, as part of a Nintendo Direct presentation, Nintendo announced that Metroid Dread would be getting a new difficulty mode called Rookie Mode. While details during the Direct about what this mode would actually do were pretty sparse, it seemed like it was intended to make the game more accessible to people who had liked the idea of the game, but found it difficult to play in practice. So today, on Accessibility, we're going to be talking about Rookie Mode in Metroid Dread. We're going to talk about some of the things that are changed by the setting, some of the things that are not, and some of the more fundamental changes that really needed to be made to make this game more accessible to disabled players, and the fact that this feels like a little bit of a very low effort easy mode. Let's start off with what Rookie Mode actually changes in Metroid Dread. The major changes the mode implements are increased effectiveness of resource pickups and decreased damage dealt by boss enemies. Both of these changes are pretty simple to understand. While playing in Rookie Mode, anytime the player picks up a health pickup, they will recover a little bit more health, and whenever they pick up an ammo pickup, they will receive slightly more ammo. Health and ammo pickups will not be more plentiful, but those that you collect will do a better job of keeping you topped up. While boss encounters will now do less damage, there are a couple of caveats worth knowing here. Boss enemy attack patterns are not simplified at all, a usually expected step of creating an easy mode for a game, and enemy damage outside of boss fights is also not reduced. Where easy modes in most games will tweak overall encounter balance, Metroid Dread's Rookie Mode has taken a very basic stat-altering approach, and as a result there are a lot of aspects of the game which have not been made easier to navigate. ME sections, where unkillable robots stalk the player attempting to one-hit kill them, are essentially unchanged in Rookie Mode. They still hunt you with the same speed and determination, with the same tiny window of frames to execute a counter to try and survive. When you do get access to a temporary power boost to fight each enemy, you still have to hit a very precise area of a moving enemy for a sustained amount of time before the creature can reach you for a one-hit kill attempt. These moments are not made easier to progress through in Rookie Mode. Metroid Dread's controls are also still just as complicated to pull off, with no changes made to things like difficult platforming sections, making them easy to progress through with more leniency. Metroid Dread's Rookie Mode is a welcome addition to the game, but it really doesn't go far enough. It feels like a bit of a slapdash inclusion that was trying to, as quickly and easily as possible, say that the game is technically easier, without going in and doing any of the hard work that a proper, thorough easy mode would take to implement. There's a reason why you generally work on an easy mode while you're making the game rather than in post, because there's a lot of things that aren't just tweaking some numbers that really need to be done to make a game like this easier than it was at launch. While I'm really glad that Rookie Mode has been added to the game, fundamentally, a lot of disabled players who couldn't play the game at launch are still not going to be able to play it now. I'm glad these changes have happened, but they are very minimal in the grand scheme of things, and we need to make sure that we don't just praise an easy mode because it gets added, but that we expect a proper quality bar. Metroid Dread has really fumbled in terms of being an accessible game, and Rookie Mode really doesn't change that.